Hello and welcome to Mad Knitting. Today is July 4, 2026, so it is American Independence Day, which I'm sure most, if not all of you, are aware. In celebration, I am wearing my Vive, résistance t-shirt that I got a couple of years ago. So many thoughts about this holiday. It is, of course, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. It's signing, I think. There's a whole lot in that document. I don't know that I've ever actually read it all the way through. Maybe I had to in high school history. I don't even remember. But there was a really, really great video that Heather Cox Richardson put out a few days ago where she reads the entire declaration and goes through it piece by piece and explains the context, what was happening, what people were responding to when they wrote it. I highly recommend it, so I will put a link to that in the description box below this video. It's a complicated holiday. I think I am somewhere in between the camps of like, yay America, because we all know there are problems, and the kind of other side where, or the, the sort of other end of the spectrum that is so deeply cynical that people have a hard time finding anything to celebrate. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not feeling celebratory right now, obviously. We have a fascist takeover of our government. We have inequality that makes the Gilded Age look like, a cheap dress rehearsal. But at the same time, we've been at this American project for 250 years, and there have been a lot of really amazing people who have fought really hard to get us the rights and freedoms that we have. And I think we need to fight really hard to expand those and make sure we don't lose more of them. So that's where I am on that. My name is Susan, by the way. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and you can find me on Ravelry and Bluesky as madtownmama and Instagram as madtown_mama. That username, by the way, comes from the fact that I am a mom. I have two children. My son is 20, my daughter is 18, so we are a mere 2 months or less away from becoming empty nesters because she is starting college this fall, just graduated from high school. And I live in Madison, Wisconsin, which sometimes is nicknamed Madtown or Mad City. So I'm Madtown Mama. Even if my children don't always live here, I will always be their mom. So that's the origin of that username, in case you were curious. My son is actually home for a couple of weeks, which is really lovely, but it also means his stuff is everywhere, like below my phone, which you can't see. He's got his cello, his backpack, like some other stuff that could all be in his bedroom, but is not for some reason. That's okay. I'm just glad to have him home. So I did not expect to have the opportunity to make another episode already, but the rest of the family is out doing things outside of the house, and I have just a few things to show you, so I decided I would come here and do that. I have progress on 3 works in progress. I don't have anything finished, but I do have a little bit of sewing to show you. So here we go. I don't have any socks today. Can you believe it? But I do have part of a sweater and a couple of hats. So in my last episode, I had just started the Hibernate pullover by Amy Scher, and I've made quite a lot of progress on this. As you can see, I ended up, I think I explained last time, I had the whole top knit, and then I measured it and realized that the yoke was going to be way too shallow. So I ripped almost all the way back, did it again, adding more rounds with no increases in between the increases, just to gradually make that yoke deeper. And I've tried it on a few times and it fits very nicely. So I am now onto the body. And I'm doing a little bit of shaping. I'm ignoring the instructions in the pattern for shaping because what I like to do for a sweater that has sort of like not a close fit, but is also not oversized, just kind of a comfortable fit. I like to have a little bit of shaping coming in just a little after the bust and then back out again. So kind of like hourglass shaping, but not at all extreme or tight. So I did a couple sets of decreases. I will go straight for a while, and then I will do more increases so that it's got some more room around the belly and the hips. The yarn I'm using, I didn't keep any of the labels, so I don't remember the name of the farm or the company, but I do remember that I bought it many years ago at the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival. It's an angora wool blend. I think it's 20% angora. And for the main part of the sweater, I am using this dark gray, which I'm not even 100% sure the skeins are hand dyed. I think they are, because when I was knitting, I noticed you can see there's just a little bit of tonality in the color. So I decided to alternate skeins once I got past the yoke. So I'm doing about 2 rounds per. Obviously, this will run out well before this, but that's okay. So this is what I'm using for the main body. And then I have a natural white color and a really beautiful bright red that I will use for the collar, hem, and sleeve cuffs. And when I get there, I'll show you that. I am making the first size in this pattern. Amy Sure has a lot of really nice patterns out there. I own several, but this is the first one I've actually made, and I really appreciate their instructions for being very clear and very thorough. They are very intentional about being size inclusive, so there's a pretty good range. I think the smallest bust on this was 35 inches, which is a little roomy for me. I have a 32 or 30 inch bust, or 32 or 33 inch bust. And I don't like things to swim on me. I don't like all the excess fabric. It bothers me. But 35 seems like a good, comfortable size to give me a few inches of ease, but not too much. And then it goes up quite a bit further than that. They also offer bust art shaping if that's something you need. So I recommend you check out their patterns. I think they've got a lot of pretty simple, basic, tees, this pullover. There's a couple of cardigan patterns, and then some that are a little more intricate in terms of stitch patterns or texture or whatever. So that's pretty neat. I also have a couple of hats in progress. The first one I'm going to show you is this polka hat. It's the second polka hat that I started back in March. I have been at a music festival this week. In fact, I have to be there this afternoon and evening for our final performance. So I will be changing into concert black and getting ready for that. But playing in this festival, which I've done for many years now, involves being at rehearsal, having chunks of downtime, playing in other performances. It's kind of a lot of up and down. There's a lot of rest time in between things. So I always have a knitting project with me. And this year I decided to bring my polka hat, hoping to get it finished. So the polka pattern, by the way, is designed to be middle out. So you cast on provisionally, start in the middle, do one end of the hat, and the pattern then calls for you to pick up those stitches off the provisional cast on and do the other half in a fuzzy, like a mohair silk, which can be the lining or it can be the outside of the hat. It's a totally reversible thing. I have done most of mine like that. I've knit probably 10 of them by now. A couple I did I just adapted the gauge for thicker yarn to make them very, very warm. I live in Wisconsin. We get very cold weather in the winter very often. So I've made a couple with really warm, woolly outer layer and then like a fingering weight lining instead of the lace weight lining. And then lately I've been doing a couple that are all fingering weight the whole way through instead of that mohair silk lining. So this one, I'm using leftover yarn from other projects. So the whole middle section is gray. I think this is West Yorkshire Spinners. I don't remember the name of the yarn base, but it's a wool silk blend. So it's hand wash only, actually. So that's the whole middle chunk. And then I have this yak blend sock yarn left over from socks that I made a while ago for the top of one side. And then for the other crown, I have this, again, I don't have the label. Somebody gave this to me. It's a yak, like a merino yak nylon blend, I think. Or maybe there's some silk. I don't remember. It's very nice in this really deep fuchsia color. So when you're wearing the hat, you'll have gray for the brim and the main part, but then the crown will be, depending on which way you wear it, either this heathery gold color or this bright magenta color. So I don't even know. I mean, I think those two go together pretty well, but you won't see them together. Yeah, so that's what I've been working on during this festival. I have a lot of downtime today because we have a sound check and then some downtime and then a little time to eat and then more time. Like, it's just like we have to be there kind of early, but there's a lot of waiting around in between that and when we actually have our call time. So I might need to bring something else to make sure I've got enough to keep my hands busy back there today. Especially since I'm done. I did 4 recital performances the last 2 days, Thursday and Friday. So now that those are done, honestly, the high pressure stuff is, I mean, those weren't high pressure, but it was a lot of repertoire, a lot of music to know. Okay, so my final work in progress I'm going to show you is this hat that I said was going to be done, but it's not because I started over. So here's the first one. Here's the one I showed you last time. And kind of like, as I was talking about it and saying, oh yeah, you know, it's a little oversized, but it'll probably fit my daughter and it'll be okay, blah, 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 blah. Like, honestly, I think this is just too big. It's too big. Like, I still had decreases to go. The brim is really tall. You know, you can fold it way, way up and it's just too big. You know, I could try to convince myself otherwise, but it's just too big. However, rather than rip it out, I just picked up the other skeins I had of the same yarn because I had 2 skeins of each of them. And I'll show those to you in a bit. And started over the whole thing, going down 1 needle size for all of it. And I also decided not to do the double brim because that just seemed too bulky. So in the first version, I used size 7 for the ribbing and size 9 for the main part. The cast on is 96 stitches, so that should have been a clue because typically if I am making a hat with that number of stitches, I'm using a size 8 needle. And even though this has, you know, a textured pattern, so it's going to pull in a little bit, it's still, I could just tell the sizing wasn't right. So for this one, I used a size 6 for the ribbing and I'm using a size 8 for the main body. I am a couple of rounds away from starting the decreases and I think this one is going to fit much better. I know you can't really tell just from looking at the screen, but while this one is not at all tight, it just feels like it fits more snugly, like more appropriately snugly on my head, whereas this one was just loose. I like the fabric it creates. I think it just wasn't right for this hat. So the pattern is called Divide and it's by Emily Green, and it originally calls for a very chunky yarn. So yeah, what I'm using is different though. So I'm holding together 2 different things. There's this gorgeous tweed, which I got on sale at the Sow's Ear, and I would love to have some more of it. I don't need more yarn. And I know better, I knew better than to buy this, but I did it anyway. And I had thought that this was like some fancy indie, I mean, it's from Hey Mama Wolf, Made from Irish wool and UK alpaca and spun in Ireland at the historical Donegal Yarns Mill. I think this is distributed by Kelbourne Woolens because I found it listed on the Kelbourne Woolens website. It's called Beara. And because it's got that alpaca in it, it's extra warm. And it's this lovely tweed. And I think it's either the yarn is discontinued or the Sowsier is not going to carry it anymore because it was on sale. But I bought 2 skeins of this like beige, very light beige color. And they also had Trinity from Yarn Citizen, which is an alpaca cashmere, something else. Silk probably for the core. It's a fluffy, fuzzy, light as a cloud, extremely soft yarn. And I love how they look together knit in this hat. And I think they're going to be very warm. So the reason I didn't rip out this other hat was partly laziness. I just didn't feel like it. And also because since I was almost done knitting it, like I know I'm not going to keep this hat. I didn't want to wind up the yarn together because the wool is going to be more bouncy than the fuzzy yarn, which isn't elastic at all. So it does not make sense to wind them together because they won't get used up at the same rate exactly. So I'd have to pull, rip out some of the knitting and wind them up separately. And that's fine, I can do that, but I just didn't feel like spending the time doing that when I had a second skein on hand and I could just start the hat over. So what will I do with the rest of this? I am thinking of making a set of mittens to go with this. I'm still thinking of giving these to my daughter. I didn't ask her, but she's going to college north of here, and it's going to be colder and snowier for the most part than it gets here. So hopefully she'll find a use for an extra warm set of hat and mittens where she's going to college. That's all the knitting I have to show. I think I just did an episode a week or 2 ago, so yeah, that's all I have to show you. Although I have other projects kind of simmering and many plans for many more, as I always do. But I have some sewing to show you. We are coming off of a really nasty heat wave here in Wisconsin. I know that it is blanketing the whole eastern half of the United States right now. The high today in Washington, D.C., I saw is supposed to be over 100 degrees and it's very humid. So that does not bode well for the festivities there. I admit I have a little bit of schadenfreude because I am so disgusted by the administration and what they are doing with this 250th anniversary and making it all about one person rather than all about independence and what we, the people in this country, have been all about for so long. At the same time, it is really dangerous that it's going to be that hot, and I am very concerned about the people that are going to be out there, workers that are going to have to be out there. And, you know, I'm also very concerned about climate change that has made this more frequent. So, yeah, not a great thing. And it was very hot here. We had temperatures for the upper Midwest, like this is a lot. Temperatures in the 90s, very high humidity, so it felt like about 100 degrees for a few days there. It's better now, thankfully. But I was inspired to make some pajama shorts for myself and my daughter, which I've been meaning to do for ages, because I don't really have any, and I wanted something cooler to sleep in. So I used this pattern, the Havana Pajamas from Liesl and Company. I really like Liesl and Company. They have also, like, this is an independent company, but she's also done designing for Simplicity, which is one of the big four. I don't really know what the deal is with the big four anymore. Seems like it's not going well there. But this you can just order straight from her website. oliverandess.com. I will make sure there's a link below. But I really, every time I have made a pattern by this designer, whether it's Liesl & Co. or one of her children's patterns, which is under the label Oliver and S, I have been very, very happy with it. She's trained as a professional. She's been doing this for a long time. So the pieces fit together. The instructions are very clear. It's just, I know it's gonna work as long as I take the appropriate measurements. Like, they fit to the measurements. Like, if it says this is for a 36-inch hip circumference, it will fit a 36-inch hip circumference. So anyway, that's all good. I am in no mood to make a pajama top. I just wear old t-shirts to bed, but I definitely liked the shorts. So I invited my daughter to come look through my fabric stash with me and pick out some of the fabrics that she liked that I thought there would be enough of, because you need a fair amount of fabric for these shorts. And I will show you the first pair I made for her. This is funny. She picked out this dark green fabric that I think I got at a thrift store for about $2. And it's not great quality. It's just sort of a solid color quilting cotton. You know, not tightly woven, nothing real special about it, but it is lightweight and she liked it. And I thought, well, this will be a good muslin then. And if she can wear them, all the better. So here they are. They've been washed once, which is why they're wrinkly. We're not gonna bother to iron pajama shorts around here. I asked her if she wanted to pick out a contrasting fabric for the cuffs, so she did. This is just from a fat quarter. I don't remember like the brand or designer. It's just something I had sitting around. But these shorts have some very nice details. So there is a pocket, a nice big pocket, which she was very happy about. And again, these are wrinkled, but I'm going to show you the inside so you can see the pocket. If I show you the other pair, it'll show up better. But that is a very nice size pocket. Like, you can put your phone in there if you're up and wandering around in the morning or whatever. Not enough women's clothes have good pockets, so I was happy to see this. So this, I don't know what to call this style of pocket, but it's like the pocket lining is what's in the side seam here, and then there's like a sort of diagonal opening. There are separate pieces that you sew on for the cuffs at the bottom, obviously, and for the waistband, which I just, it adds a few extra steps to the construction, but you end up with a very well-made, polished pair of shorts at the end. So I'm going to show you one more pair. I made her these and a second pair that I won't show you, but I made some for me just like them because I had enough fabric left. So these are really fun. I think I bought a whole bunch of this fruity fabric. I don't remember from where, somewhere online ages ago. It's like a poplin shirting. I don't know what I was going to do with it, but obviously I didn't carry through those plans. So this is the pair I made for me. Hers are just like it, except that when I was cutting out the pair for myself, I didn't have quite enough for all the pieces, so I cut out the pockets from a separate piece of fabric. So here you can see better just how epic those pockets are. They are nice and roomy. For that reason, and because you have separate pieces for the waistband and cuffs, I can't tell you what the yardage is on these, but it uses more than you would expect for just a simple pair of shorts. So, here they are. These are totally fun. I mean, they're a little cheesy, but they're pajamas, so hey. I want to make at least one more pair of pajama shorts for myself, if not two more. My daughter now has two pairs and would like a third, but I have another pattern that I bought from True Bias. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put it on the screen. much simpler. We'll see if I like it as much. It's for a pair of boxer shorts or long pants, meant for sleeping, like sleeping shorts. There's a false fly on it. There are side pockets, which is good. And there are 2 options for how the, it's either high rise or mid rise. So for both of us, I'm going to make them, or for her, we're going to see how it works out for her. And if we like them, I'll make some for me. Mid rise shorts. And I looked through those instructions. It's not quite as detail oriented, like you're not cutting out separate pieces for the cuffs, which is fine, but you're also not cutting out a separate piece for the waistband. And I have found that I like patterns better that have separate waistband pieces. So we'll see. I will report back. If they don't work as well, I'll just come back to the, what was this called? The Havana pajamas, because I know this works and I know they fit. Well, that's all I have for you today. I hope wherever you are staying cool and staying safe, and I will see you next time.